Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and we are halfway through the year. In fact, today is July 2nd, 2018. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited for the back half of the year, especially if we get stories like the ones I'm going to cover today, because I feel like these are just crazy and they are wild. And this is the reality that we live in, right? Especially when it comes to dealing with social media and politicians, which never really ever bodes well, especially if you're Ron Paul, because today he's had to apologize for posting a racist cartoon. That's right, Ron Paul is having to come out and be like, well, I don't really touch my social media, but somebody did, and they done goofed, right? Because you tweet out something that's kind of bad to an extent. That's kind of bad, and ends up getting him into a little bit of trouble. In fact, the article here states, former Rep Ron Paul on Monday apologized after his Twitter account posted and then deleted a racist and anti-Semitic cartoon featuring a Jewish man, an Asian man, a Latino man, and a black man, all punching Uncle Sam with an arm emblazoned with the communist hammer and sickle symbol. The caption on Paul's original tweet was, "Are you stunned by what America has, or what has become of American culture? Well, it's not an accident. You probably heard of cultural Marxism." And then, of course, later he deleted it, and then he issued a statement saying, "Earlier today, a staff member inadvertently posted an offensive cartoon on my social media. I do not make any of my own social media posts, and when I discovered the mistake, it was immediately deleted." Well, let's be realistic here. If it was immediately deleted, he checks it well enough, right? I love that argument. Well, I don't actually check my social media feeds. I don't actually partake in that particular part of what happens. My team does it, but then I'm still on Twitter. I'm still looking for them spicy bants and them hot poll memes. Because here is what the tweet was, at least in the beginning, from Ron Paul, verified blue check mark and everything, saying here, "Are you stunned by what has become of American culture? Well, it's not an accident." You've seen this, and then you got the guys on there punching, and for some reason my browser's being all screwy, but give you an idea of just who the people are in question here, who were drawn. Now, if you use the internet at all, you are fully aware of at least two of these images. There, of course, is the African-American fellow in the top right, a frequent used image in old racist imagery. And then the one in the very bottom left is what we refer to as the happy merchant. And that, of course, is a very ongoing meme that is used. Now, going after cultural Marxism makes sense coming from Paul. They like to fight back against that kind of stuff. They like to push back against that. And I guess you could say as a cultural libertarian, that's what people kind of assign to me. I definitely like to push back against cultural Marxism as well. But that tweet is entirely racist and anti-Semitic. It's entirely meant to be that way. And the people who made that, who probably circulated around on Poll, are happier than a pig in shit that it ended up getting retweeted out there by Ron Paul. Then, of course, it was removed. And then, of course, it's been archived and saved to the internet. And as a result of that, it will never, ever go away. And this goes to show you that people out there are people who work in social media that do not know where things come from in social media. And when they don't know where these things arrive from, when they don't know where these particular things originate, it can get them in a lot of trouble, which is one of the reasons why I would argue that if you are going to, kind of call yourself a social media guru, or you're going to work on someone's social media team, you might be better off going on knowyourmeme.com, spending a lot of time floating around 4chan and some of the darker parts of Reddit. Get to know the memes, because if you know the memes and you know where they come from and you know who's saying them and they go against your particular message, it allows you to be prepared and not accidentally end up, posting this on a very popular and famous politician's Twitter account, which is well, look, I'll be realistic here. It's pretty goddamn funny. It's always funny when this happens. This actually trumps the entire Ted Cruz liking the porn tweet. I mean, as far as politicians go and making mistakes on Twitter, this currently takes the 2018 cake. And jumping over into news that is political, but also just so ridiculously stupid and should never happen in any country, of course, is a story about a restaurant manager who was fired after he refused to serve a customer wearing a MAGA hat. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, happening on the left coast, right? Happened in a blue state. Yeah, this guy really triggered the lib, got that snowflake melting, all that stuff. And you know what? I'm actually not going to lie. I'm actually going to agree with you. This particular person, this particular manager, they were triggered. They were super triggered. They were 100% mad because someone wore a hat. Someone wore an item of clothing that they didn't care for because it denoted a particular political stance. Look, it wasn't a freaking swastika, all right? It wasn't an armband with a big old swazi on it. It was just a MAGA hat, which some have argued is the exact same thing. But I think anyone out there with the half a brain would realize that that's not the case. All right, that's clearly not the case, but this didn't even happen in America. This happened in Vancouver, British Columbia. It says here that the manager of a popular restaurant in Vancouver, Canada, was fired after he told the customer to remove his Make America Great Again cap or he would refuse to serve him. Darin Hodge, the former manager of the Teahouse and Stanley Park, said that he stands by his decision to ask a man to take off the cap, saying that the cap represented racism, bigotry, Islamophobia, misogyny, white supremacy, and homophobia. Now, I am not going to lie. There are people out there who wear that hat and they support all of those things and more. But there are people out there who wear that hat and they don't. And that is one of the reasons why you have to be a bit careful when it comes to dealing with the MAGA hat, because it's some people out there, they wear it ironically, right? They treat it like it's a hipster garb sort of thing. And not everyone else out there is what they're trying to say. And when you've got them trying to claim that it's racism, bigotry, sexism, misogyny, Islamophobia, things like that, again, it just further emboldens that person's stance because they feel like they're being attacked, right? I mean, if I was wearing a MAGA hat and I was told to take it off, I'd be like, nah, like, screw you. This is, no real, you don't have a reason to tell me to take this thing off. I'm not doing anything. I haven't done anything. But but the guy was fired. And I do understand why he was fired. In fact, actually, in this particular case, because he refused service, it was probably for the best that he was. Now, according to a witness, she says, a gentleman came in wearing a hat that was a Make America Great Again hat, and our manager went up to the gentleman and asked him to take off his hat, that he said he wouldn't serve him with that hat on. And the gentleman said he had the right to wear the hat, and the manager refused to serve him if he wouldn't take it off, so the customer had to leave. The company called Hodge a good person with a big heart and a right to his personal beliefs, but he was terminated for violating the company's philosophy of tolerance. So let's take that into account for a second. This guy was fired because he violated a company's tolerance policy, right? Because he wanted someone with a MAGA hat to be booted off. That's fine with me. I think that actually plays out. I think that's actually perfectly fine. Oftentimes I've argued that people shouldn't be fired for having an opinion, for one that they have when they're not at work, one that they had on their own personal private time. This wasn't any of those things. This was a manager of a tea house in Vancouver, British Columbia, who hated a MAGA hat, refused to serve the guy, and ultimately lost his job for it. Now, this guy might be hailed by some as a martyr. He might be hailed by some as a hero for standing up to Drumpf and everything else. But I look at it not like that, because what it did is it didn't engage in a conversation. There wasn't ever any dialogue about the hat or anything in regards to that. Like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I don't think should have been asked to leave the Red Hen last week. But the manager there, I guess from what I read, at least originally, attempted to engage in some dialogue about it. But then I heard followed them to another restaurant and was still yelling at them. I don't know. I've heard conflicting reports. But again, I don't think Sarah Huckabee Sanders should have been asked to leave at the restaurant. And I don't think the owner of that restaurant should have done it. And I don't think that this guy should have attempted to refuse service for this guy wearing a hat. I mean, I've been to the store and I've seen someone wearing a Hillary for Prison t-shirt and hat and a MAGA hat. I was at the mall yesterday and there was a guy saying, like, with a shirt that said, fuck you, you fucking fuck on it, right? Like, people wear these things. People can express themselves. Now, granted, private businesses have the private right to do this sort of thing, obviously, but there's going to be consequences when that happens. In this particular case, the manager was fired. In the case of the Red Hen, they're getting a lot of negative coverage online and on their reviews and stuff. And so there's never a winner here. I just want to make that abundantly clear. There is never a winner in regards to this particular type of situation. If you are going to try to combat what you believe is bigotry and racism with more bigotry, you're not the better person. In fact, you're kind of a cunt, because you're going to sit there and you're going to put your beliefs on somebody else and use your position of power to reinforce those beliefs, which is the exact thing you're kind of arguing against on the other side. There's no winner there. There's no winner. What you should have is a dialogue, have a discussion. Maybe that isn't the best place for it, but at least maybe try, instead of, trying to say, I'm not going to let you win it unless you take that damn thing off. Because most people will sit there and they'll get stubborn about it. They've done nothing wrong. They're being treated as if they've done something wrong. And that's just not the course of action. And so even though I'm a left-leaning individual, I don't believe anyone should be booted out of a restaurant because they support Donald Trump. Once we go down that path, once we start championing that particular narrative to take place, it's not going to be good. We don't want to go back to segregation days. And that's where I feel things are going. And that is never a win for society. We got better once we got rid of segregation. We don't need to go back. But then again, the pendulum always returns to the extreme on the other side. And we're now watching that transition take place 50 years later. And it's just, quite frankly, pathetic. And finally today, guys, I actually want to talk about a good story, a feel-good story. I want to leave you feeling good. You know what I mean? I want to leave you feeling like my channel is a massage parlor and I just gave you a happy ending underneath the sheet. That's how I want you to feel leaving this channel today. And the reason why is because this is a good story. This is a feel-good story. There were boys that were trapped, a soccer team that was missing for days in a cave system in Thailand, and they have been found alive 9 days later. Saying here, a group of 12 schoolboys and the soccer coach were found alive Monday after being stuck in a Thai cave for over a week. Now, I've done scouts for years. I've gone and done spelunking before in many different caves, and it's easy to get lost. It's easy to find yourself away from the group. Now, these guys had been out there before, apparently, but they just got lost and they got trapped and they're alive. And that is utterly, utterly fantastic. And the story about how they were found too is pretty cool. It says here that rescue divers had been working desperately for 9 days to save the soccer players, who range in age from 11 to 16. The group disappeared while on a team outing June 23rd, when flooding trapped them inside the Tham Luang Nang Non network of underground caves. No one had been in contact with the boys since they went missing, and it's still unclear how they survived. Going on to say that massive rescue efforts involved the country's version of Navy SEALs, but they were hampered when heavy rains flooded and blocked access to the chambers where the group was thought to be. But on Monday, the divers took advantage of a brief window of good weather to edge further into the cave, pumping water out around the clock. The team, named the Wild Boars, were found 132 feet below the surface. The captivating search for the group brought in cave rescue experts from the U.S. military, the UK, China, and Australia. Family and friends held vigils outside the cave entrance, praying they would see the young players again. And that is so cool that they were found. 9 days. Don't quite know how they survived. If look, there's water, if they're flooded, they were probably just drinking a lot of water. But one of the things right now is, even though they've been found, they're not out yet. Rescue crews still have to get out to them. They still have to find a way to get them out and get around the water, because those the channels were flooded, the caves were flooded, and those guys were stuck in there. And at least now they know where they are. All 13 of them are alive. Everyone is they don't know necessarily the condition that the boys are in. They don't know how they're going to be able to get all of them out right away. They are working on it definitely on a one-to-one basis. And they are trying to get medical teams in there to assess any kind of malnutrition or any kind of injuries or disease the boys may have maintained. But right now, what we know, and this is fantastic, they're alive. They're alive. 13 people trapped in a cave based on, flooding from rainwaters. And they're okay. And now everyone is working around the clock to get them out. So if we ever need a moment of levity to kind of look at the whole humans being bros thing, I think this is one of the stories. This is definitely one of the stories where you can stop and go, yes, I feel very good about this. I feel very great about this. And I hope they get out there quick and I hope they get out there. They get out there healthy, and I hope they can finish watching the World Cup before it ends. And to everyone there, like, you don't care about me, you'll never even see this, but I wish you nothing but the best and the fastest and most speediest recovery. Because I know if I was ever in a situation like that, I'd want the same for me or for my kid or anyone's kid. So I just wanted to end it with a good story, not something that's dark and dreary and terrible, which tends to be a lot of what I cover on this channel. And I want to put it to you guys. What are your thoughts and everything today? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. I'm very curious to know your guys' thoughts on these stories, and be sure to check back tomorrow for another video. Until then, my name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out. Oh, right. One thing I want to say too. If you are looking for more content from me and you want more of like a long form audio podcast sort of thing, check the link below for my Whatever podcast. I just do these kind of random just stream of consciousness discussions or talks, and I got a couple episodes that I've put out so far, and so far I like it. So the link for that will be in the video description, and also the end credit screen, which you can then check out right now.